Alrighty, welcome back everyone, it's Garland here bringing you another Neverwinter video, and today we are going to be going over the powers and spell rotations not only for the Hellbringer AoE loadout, but as well as the Soulbinder single target loadout. This is going to be the powers and spell rotations guide for module 11.5. Jumping right into the powers, we are on the Hellbringer loadout. Starting off with your at-wills, you should be utilizing Hellish Rebuke for the DOT feature, as well as your secondary of Eldritch Blast, because on the third cast of this, it does do an AoE effect. Moving on to your personals, we are still using Flames of Empowerment, so you want to make sure that you are attacking your targets 3 times to get the Flames of Empowerment, and then as well as All-Consuming Curse, which basically spreads your Lesser Curse around the trash mobs. And now this build is strictly for AoE situations. So our Lesser Curse damage does a lot of damage. This build is built around Lesser Curse. So this interacts with your Scornful Curse as well as your Relentless Curse. And basically you're just spreading your Lesser Curse throughout the trash mobs, making them all take a ton of damage. Now moving on to your dailies, we are using Brood of Hadar. This is going to be usually single target DPS, but it does have an AoE feature to this. So if you cast it with multiple targets around, it will become AoE. As you can see with the Brood damage and everything, it does significant amount of damage. And we also have Tyrannical still slotted. I don't typically use Tyrannical very often, even in an AoE situation, unless it's an extreme AoE situation. Sometimes in FBI, or sometimes in MSVA, or even sometimes in Spell Plague, where there are large quantities, I will still pop Tyrannical. But majority of the time I still use Brood of Hadar. Even though it's more focused on single target, it does have AoE aspects to it. Now moving right along to your encounter powers, we are using Fiery Bolt for obvious AoE reasons. Of course you're going to be utilizing your Pillar of Power, and then also Hadar's Grasp. Now I know Hadar's Grasp is mainly focused around single target DPS, however when you're using the Lightning enchantment, Hadar's Grasp will proc the Lightning enchantment off every tick of Hadar's Grasp. So there is really no go-to rotation. We've gone through the powers. Now as far as your Hellbringer AoE goes, there's no really guaranteed rotation. Basically you're going to rush in, pop your Pillar of Power, make sure you have your curse on as many targets as you can. I believe you can have up to 3 curses per target, and then with Relentless Curse you can see that Lesser Curse does take over, and you can also see our Lesser Curse damage is pretty hefty. Between our Pillar of Power and Lesser Curse, you should be able to kill most trash mobs just with those 2 features. So you want to make sure you're popping your Hadar's Grasp. You can see your lightning will spread with every tick of Hadar's Grasp, and then just cast your Fiery Bolt when it is available. So there is no static rotation you have to follow. Basically when your skills are off cooldown, make sure you are popping them, and that's pretty much it for as far as clearing trash mobs. Remember you can pop your Brood of Hadar, and as you can clearly see, Brood of Hadar does have an AoE aspect to it. Make sure you're utilizing your Sigil of the Devoted to get your daily back up as quickly as possible. But there is no, static rotation that you guys have to stick to. Now, if we do go back into our powers, there are other options available if you so do choose for AoE. Dread Theft is still a very high-end AoE encounter. However, it's going to leave you vulnerable. You're not really going to be able to move around very often. This is more of a debuff these days. If you are familiar with how Dread Theft works and how it interacts now, anything that is being hit by Dread Theft, your teammates are going to do more damage to that target. I don't particularly like Dread Theft, however, it does do a lot of damage. You can also, of course, use Curse Bite. If you're interested, it does damage to all cursed targets. This does include Lesser Curse. So if you have your Warlock's Curse on 3 targets, as well as Lesser Curse spread throughout all of the mobs, you simply just pop your Curse Bite and you will do damage to every mob that has Curse on it. A Horror Storm does have an AoE feature to it, however, it's pretty low for the most part. Same thing with Wraith Shadow. Some Warlocks are still sticking with Blades of the Vanquished Armies. I do use Blades of the Vanquished Armies in certain situations where I know that things are going to die so quick that I'll just pop Pillar of Power and Blades and watch everything basically die. As well as Arms of Hadar. Arms of Hadar is very, very niche related. Some Warlocks still choose Arms of Hadar over other AoEs. That is going to be completely up to you guys. But that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, you basically rush in there, you know, pop your pillar, go ahead, drop your Hadars, watch everything spread, you know, pop your Fiery Bolt when it's up, pop your Daily when it's up. The main objective for this AoE loadout is to kill the trash mobs as fast as possible, and you shouldn't have any issues doing that for the most part. So that's going to wrap up the powers and spell rotations for the Hellbringer AoE loadout. We're going to be moving on to the Soulbinder single target, which is a little more trickier. Alrighty, and we're back. Now we're going to be going over the Soulbinder single target powers and spell rotations for the module 11.5. If we jump right into our powers, a lot of things are going to be the same, but there is going to be some difference. So for your at-wills, you're going to be using your Essence Defouler, which generates sparks basically. This doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but you're going to do some damage with it, but it's mainly just a spark generator. As your secondary, I choose to use Eldritch Blast, however you can use Dark Spiral if you so choose. Moving into your dailies, we are going to still be using the Dust to Dust feature, which basically is going to be your AP gen per sparks, and then as well as All Consuming Curse for the not only the Lesser Curse, but you know your Lesser Curse damage is going to be increased as well. We don't typically care too much about Lesser Curse when it comes to single target. However, it does become a factor. You can still have Warlock's Curse and Lesser Curse on the same target, and your Lesser Curse is still going to be doing that DOT damage. As far as your dailies goes, we are going to still be using Brood of Hadar for the single target DPS that it provides. However, I don't typically use Brood of Hadar too much. I normally will be using Emulation Spirits. Emulation Spirits not only does a lot of damage, it's also a spark generator as well. The main purpose for this single target build is to accumulate as many sparks as you can and then use those sparks as fast as you can to pump out DPS. So right into the encounter powers, we are going to be using Killing Flames, as that's pretty much our biggest hitting encounter. Some will argue that Soul Scorch will hit harder than Killing Flames. Killing Flames is very unpredictable. It's either you have to time it exactly right. The mob or the boss has to be less than 50% health before you're going to see those huge numbers from Killing Flames. So you guys have to get good at your rotations to be adequate DPS. So we are going to be using Killing Flames. As I mentioned, Soul Scorch is going to be the bread and butter for this build. You're going to be generating so many Soul Sparks so quickly that you're not even going to be able to use Soul Scorch enough to pump out the DPS. And then finally wrapping off with Hadar's Grasp. Now we do use Hadar's Grasp in the AoE to interact with the Lightning Enchantment. Well, it's the same philosophy here, guys. You're going to be using Hadar's Grasp not only because it does a lot of damage, but it's going to generate Soul Sparks extremely quick with the Fey Touched Enchantment. So if we move into a rotation, typically when I'm starting a boss rotation, I would be starting with Warlock's Curse. I would pop my Hadar's Grasp, I would typically pop my Emulation Spirits next. Usually my mount power, if you have a legendary mount power. I would pop a Killing Flames, even though knowing it's not going to do those big numbers just yet. And then I would go into spamming Soul Scourge. Now, the only thing you guys have to remember is when using Soul Scourge is that you do have to Warlock's Curse in between every Soul Scourge to be effective. You don't have to, but you're going to lose the DOT value with creeping death and everything if you don't Warlock's Curse in between every single Soul Scourge. Now, typically, the people I run with, we destroy bosses in 20 seconds or less. I normally can't even get a full rotation off majority of the time before the boss is dead. Now, there are certain game mechanics, such in Spell Plague, where you have to actually watch your DPS because you will wipe the whole group. Like the last boss in Spell Plague, you can't melt her down. You have to go through the events. So let's quickly go through a rotation here. As I said, I'll usually start off with a Curse. I will pop Hadar's Grasp. I will pop my Emulation Spirits. We'll go right into the mount power. As you can see, we're already gaining Soul Sparks from Hadar's Grasp. I will pop my Killing Flames. And then it's all about just pacing Hadar's Grasp and Soul Scourge. Make sure you are cursing in between. You can see my spark generation is just, I can't use it fast enough, guys. I didn't even pop my DC sigil and we're almost back to full AP. The Emulation Spirits just went down. We'd simply pop another Emulation Spirits, pop your artifact if you so choose, and then continue to go to Pound Town basically with your Soul Sparks. Use your Killing Flames if the mob is, you know, half health. And then you do have your AP gain up. You can pop a Brood of Hadar if you so choose, if the mob is still even alive at this point. And like I said, normally the people I run with, things die fairly quick, guys. And that's one of the downfalls to the Warlocks and why they're suffering with DPS. Not only do their powers not do enough damage in my eyes, but the game meta right now, things are melting so quick, it actually takes the Soulbinder to build up a little damage. So that's a simple rotation. You guys can customize the rotation. This was pretty much my go-to rotation. If you want to see it one more time, we'll do it slow-mo. We'll wait till these sparks go away here if they do. I don't think they're going to. You'll simply start the rotation, Warlock's Curse, go ahead, pop your Hadars. You can go right into Killing Flames if you want. Make sure your Emulation Spirits are out. Pop your legendary mount power, and then just go into Soul Scourge. Cursing every Soul Scourge, guys. And then Hadar's is up again. You want to make sure you maintain as many sparks as you can. Now, obviously, these are low numbers. We're not in a group or anything. This is all self-buffed numbers and everything. These numbers get much, much higher when you're in group content, obviously. But yeah, so Emulation Spirits is down again. My artifact's back up. We'll pop the Sigil, pop a Killing Flames. Make sure you're cursing all the time, guys. Once your Hadar's Grasp is up, you know. And you can clearly see how many sparks I'm going through, but the spark regeneration is just so high that it's going to be very unlikely that you're ever going to be out of sparks. You can basically, if you don't even want to cast Curse in between, you just spam your, you can just spam them, guys. Now, like I said, you're going to be missing out on a little DOT damage, so that's going to be up to you if you do want to curse in between every cast of it. But yeah, that's completely up to you guys. Look at that spark generation, though. I mean, it's just, it's so high. It's so high. There's no reason that you guys should not be pumping out adequate DPS, even if you're in a mediocre CN run or a mediocre group or whatever the case may be. Your damage output should still be pretty decent. So that's going to wrap it up for the powers and spell rotations, not only for the Hellbringer AoE build, as well as the Soulbinder single target build. If you guys are running into any problems with your rotations or you have questions, be sure to ask in the comments below. There will be links in the description to the mod 11.5 guide, as well as all pertinent information. Always check the description, guys. So we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully everyone is still enjoying the Warlock. I do know the Warlock is on the lower end of DPS right now. A lot of people have given up on their Warlocks and moved on to different classes. I will always play the Warlock no matter how low his DPS is. So hopefully there's still some strong Warlocks out there. And we'll see you guys in the next video.